Wonderful.
Atlanta Film Festival, we're not done. I know it's surprising, right? I am here with Kathryn Bravo. She has this beautiful 4-minute project called In Loving Memory. So I'm super excited that she's here and I get a chance to finally talk to her after all this time. Um, First question right out of the gate. You're a presidential scholar. What the heck does that mean and how do we get there? Because I'm 55 and I've never been that.
Um, so what that means is I was awarded the presidential scholarship at Georgia State University.
Yes.
I interviewed as a senior in high school and went through a application process where I had to submit multiple essays. Then I went for an in-person interview, and then finally I was told that I got the scholarship, and it is a full ride academic merit scholarship that allowed me to come to Atlanta because I'm a North Carolina native and I
Yeah.
wanted to be in Atlanta for the film industry. So that scholarship allowed me to come here and follow my passion.
That brings up a really good question. A lot of us that deal with being in New York and LA, oftentimes we've heard Atlanta's where you want to be. Atlanta's an up and comer. Atlanta offers so many different production qualities and incentives, etc. Even though you're a young lady and you're still
Mm-hmm.
filling out your career, what would you say about Atlanta to those of us that really haven't embraced it as of yet?
I think it's wonderful. It definitely was top of my list as a younger student when I was deciding where to go for film.
Sure.
I mean, I was considering New York, LA, all that, but Atlanta, well, first of all, I think the most important thing for me was the closest to home.
Mhm.
Um, but I was able to go in there not knowing anybody in the entire state of Georgia.
Okay.
Um, and with the experiences I was afforded through my degree programs, both in film and in game development,
Mhm.
which was through the Creative Media Industries Institute at Georgia State. I got to meet a lot of people who work in the industry, and they opened up doors for me to also get my foot in. And there's a lot of good stuff going on. I think especially the area around Fayetteville, it's really growing. It's really good for film right now.
Nice, very nice. So you hear that, everybody? Atlanta's the place to be. I've been hearing it, but I just want to keep getting that eventual push, push, push for it. One of the things that you've done in your career is you used to be a projectionist. I want to know about this because I'm fascinated with just everything having to do with film. So, what did you learn in that capacity? I mean, obviously, besides the technical stuff, is there another layer of you now that exists because of that experience?
Oh yes, yeah. I the funny thing is I was watching an episode of Doctor Who a few weeks ago, and it's the most recent season, and they're in a theater, like an old movie theater, and all of the films are on film; they're not digital.
Sure.
Um, and just having the experience as someone who I currently work at the Plaza Theater,
Yeah.
um, so that's my current day job when I'm not working on films and stuff. So having the experience of like knowing how this actually works just boosted the enjoyment of one episode of something for me. So it's really it's just great to have a broad knowledge of it, as much as you can know. And especially within the realm of film, it's been very impactful being a projectionist and working at the Plaza Theater because I get to learn more about the final side of things, like the distribution side, which a lot of times as a filmmaker you don't really think about. You leave that up to the producers.
Oh, God, yes. I lecture night and day. Filmmakers that are much older than you all the time. That's what we talk about is distribution and
Hmm.
financing and where are things going to go. So I totally hear you. And folks, to those that don't know, the Plaza Theater, of course, was one of the venues used for the Atlanta Film Festival. So I'm quite familiar with it. Were you able to attend not just your screening, but other things and be able to get a sense of the Atlanta film culture and some of the elements that were there?
I was, yes, it was wonderful. My a few of my favorite things that I saw. First of all, my film was paired with the feature film Withdrawal by Aaron Strand. That was incredible. That was such an amazing film, and he seems to be having much more success with it. He recently took it to New York, so that's wonderful.
Yes.
Um, I also saw a handful of the short films that were in the um, in the festival.
Mhm.
Um, One of them, my favorite one, who also oh my goodness, I can't speak. I'm sorry. It also happened to star a co-star of mine from a movie I did a few years ago. It's called Sister Salad Days by Desola Thomas,
Okay.
and it starred my friend Imani Okwosa.
Hmm.
And it was just a very touching and heartfelt short film, and I'm so happy they had the chance to show it at the Atlanta Film Festival and highlight very talented people.
Oh, look at that. There were a lot of wonderful programs there. In fact, Aaron was actually doing an interview with me not so long
Hmm.
ago. Tried to hook up in New York City while I was there, didn't get a chance to do it, but I'm super excited because he submitted withdrawal to my film festival. So I am
Wonderful,
praying
yes.
that my judges will love it because Aaron is a terrific guy. Um, I want to switch gears a second and talk about your past as far as you've done a number of theater performances in your career.
Hmm.
And so I think oftentimes, at least in New York City, a lot of the buzz that I hear from creators and actors is that theater is kind of secondary to film. So tell me a bit about your love of the theater, and then also tell me about how you envision theater today, meaning as a young
Hmm.
person, do you think theater can have a resurgence and people will be just as excited about it?
I think so, yeah. Well, I've been doing theater since I was 12 years old.
Hmm.
So I'm 24, that's half my life.
Yeah.
Um, and I grew up in the theater. It was from middle school all the way through high school. Um, I was doing multiple plays a year, just really getting involved in the community theater in my area as well as my school theater programs. And the the shift from theater being my focus as a student to film as a college student and a graduate.
Hmm.
Um, it's interesting how many similarities there are and how many vast differences there are. Um, what I remember in some of my acting classes for specifically for film, um, most of the students in there hadn't acted before or did very like limited amounts of it. Um, and I feel like somehow my theater background gave me a slight disadvantage that they didn't have
Hmm.
because they had never been told to act all the way to the back of the house. And so that was not in their body as this is how you act.
Sure.
And so I definitely remember one of my professors, Susan G. Reed, she's wonderful. During one of those classes, she was like, Kat, you are acting to the back wall there. I need you to bring it to the camera. Which was definitely interesting. But of course, you know, having been acting for that long, um, I did have the skill set to like you know emote and um, interact with the script and build my characters in a way that people who hadn't had the experience had to learn from scratch. Um,
Okay.
and then with my other degree, the game development degree, there was a lot. There's actually a lot of overlap between film, theater, and video games. Uh,
Really?
yes, so I think that degree is what I did the most with in terms of being a filmmaker because the film degree was really focused on acting. Um, but the game development degree allowed me to get into Unreal Engine, making visual effects, 3D animated films, which I created my short film in Living Memory in Unreal Engine.
Yeah.
Um, so that allowed me to have more of like the technical aspects, the like set creation, the lighting, and just like the directorial aspects where you decide what's in view and what's not, moving the camera to where it's supposed to be, even if it's in the computer. Um, it's all wonderful. And one funny thing is that when I did theater, I did have a handful of experience in technical theater. So I started out actually doing like costumes, props, and stuff. And I never liked lighting for theater. I never enjoyed it. But when I got my hands on Unreal Engine working in game softwares, I found that I really loved lighting scenes.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
so
Look at that. Huh. I want to ask something about the gaming side of things. Well,
Hmm.
actually, I should say one of the things that I read about you is that you eventually want to build your own software. Is that
Hmm.
correct?
That would be wonderful, yeah, because I mean everything's evolving. Um, so when I started school, I started out as a computer science major. I
Mhm.
ended up dropping that to a minor, so I graduated with degrees in game development and in film with the minor in computer science.
Oh, okay.
Um, yes, so having that coding background and being able to actually dig into what's happening and being able to edit things around is very, very valuable.
Well, I imagine so. Well, and plus, too, some of us, like me, as I mentioned, I can't do anything technical besides push a button. So it's fascinating to me how some people are really so stoked about doing something so technical. And it turns out so beautifully, but we'll get into the film in just a second. I don't want to forget about talking about, I want to pronounce this right, Katzzy, Catsy Art. Does that sound
Patsy.
right? Yes.
Yes.
That's been going on for the last 5 years. You are the owner and creator. Tell everyone about your business, and more importantly, tell me a bit about where you are now and where you hope to expand to be with
Mhm.
that entity.
So Cassie Art is sort of the old name of what I would call my portfolio.
Okay.
It's currently Catsy. If you go to www.catsy.com, you'll be able to see my portfolio of work.
Okay.
Most of it is within like the art and digital space. Um, and the way that blossomed is actually in middle school. I got my hands on an iPad and started doing digital art. I'd been drawing on paper before then, and I started just a little business of going around to friends and asking what they want on their school binders, and then they could pay me like a just a handful of dollars, and I'd print them out an art piece that I did, and that kind of just blossomed into doing things on commission, getting into digital art, which then helped me get into 3D modeling and texturing.
Sure.
Um, because digital art, if you put it on like a canvas, it's 2D. But if you're working on texturing a 3D model, which I did for many of the models that are in the short film, um, it's you have a 3D object and you're painting on a 3D object. But having that background in digital art was very, very helpful into transitioning to 3D digital art.
Gotcha. Okay. I think I kind of follow some of that, but that sounds very, very cool, actually.
Mhm.
Um, As far as acting goes, I know that I saw Rejuvenation is one thing that we want to talk about because I know you acted in that project. Is that currently
Mhm.
still on Amazon and Tubi, I saw?
It's still on Tubi. The
Okay.
Amazon link may have expired. I purchased it on Amazon, so I can still access it there, but I don't know if it's available to purchase right now.
Got it. Okay. Tell us
But yes, it's
about
on Tubi.
Rejuvenation because you don't act very often. I mean, meaning in film. So I was surprised to see
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, so that was the goal since I was 12 years old. I wanted to act and wanted to be in movies. So this was me really going at it.
Yep.
Um, Rejuvenation is a feature film
Mhm.
created by Tom Luce, who's the executive producer of The Walking Dead. And he was an artist in residence at the CMII, the Creative Media Industries Institute at Georgia State, and he wanted to do something with the students that would actually like create and contribute to the space. So back, I believe it was in 2019 that he taught a script writing class,
Okay.
and then the best script from that class, he took that script and made Rejuvenation out of it, with the
Nice.
help of those students that wrote the script. And oh goodness, I'm gonna have to figure out what year this was.
Sorry.
Okay, so I want to say auditions for the film were in 2022. I
Okay.
believe that's correct. Um, and so the auditions were just a simple self tape, but then we were called for in person callbacks.
Hmm.
Um, and the original script had a cast of 10 characters, and so they pared it down from all the student interest. It was like 300 something to 10 actors. Um, but we also had a class in the fall semester 2022, um, where we just took the entire semester to study the script, practice, working on our character building and our comprehensive skills for it. And that
Sure.
entire class was also the audition. So we didn't have roles by the time we went to that class. We just knew that we were going to be a part of this film.
Okay.
And during that class, when I got to read the script, I absolutely fell in love with the character Anna,
Okay.
who she's sort of like, at first you don't know if she's like a good person or a bad person. You just know that she's causing trouble for the main character Trinity, who's played by my
Okay.
friend Imani Okwosa. Um, and she's just mischievous. You don't know if she's all right in the head, and I thought she was very funny and just looked like a blast to play.
Sure.
And I ended up getting that role, which was wonderful.
Aw.
Um, yeah, so by the time the spring semester came around, so January 2023, we started getting into shooting. And I think we only shot for a couple of months, like a handful of months was the entire shooting process for this film to come out with a full length feature film.
Very
Um,
nice.
yeah, and it was like I'd say it was a streamlined process in the fact that we had an idea of what the schedule is going to be. We didn't usually go over, didn't usually need to do reshoots. It was uh, a rare occurrence, I would say.
Well, I believe that. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the gift of living in Atlanta too, is you guys obviously have access to some of those folks that have been there and filming
Mm-hmm.
for a really long time. So
Absolutely, yeah.
you folks need to watch Rejuvenation. Speaking of good film to watch, 4 minute long. It's called In Loving Memory. It premiered on April 30th at the Atlanta Film Festival. So I'm going to walk around this film, so to speak, so not giving away everything for those that might want to watch it. The first question I want to ask you is, it's been said that you've used the Adobe Premiere Pro and OptiTrack as far as putting this together.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not exactly the most tech savvy, as I mentioned before. So I always use these interviews as teaching tools. So talk to me a bit about your choice for editing and using the OptiTrack, and what was so helpful for that regarding this
Yeah.
film.
So OptiTrack is an optical motion capture system. So it's basically what you imagine when you think of motion capture. You have people in the suits, you got the dots all over them.
Yeah.
That's what you really think of. And I had in previous projects worked with inertial motion capture, which is a different type of motion capture where the data is stored in sensors in the suits.
Okay.
And so you can do that anywhere. But for OptiTrack and optical motion capture, you need to have a stage with cameras all around to
Ah,
track the suits.
okay.
Because really, the dots, they're just reflectors. The cameras tell where they are and then send that information to the computer.
Okay.
So the inertial system that I used previously, I liked it, but I had to do a lot of cleanup to make it look good.
Mm-hmm.
And with OptiTrack, I didn't really have to do much cleanup. There was some here and there, and there's some that I could still work on, but I got it to a point where I was very happy with it. Um, and the reason I chose to do motion capture is because I had the idea for this film um, like a year before I started filming it,
Oh.
and I knew that I wanted the the main action in the film to be a dance.
Mm.
However, I am not a dancer. I cannot, I'm so uncoordinated in that scenario.
Okay.
But I do have very good friends who are very talented dancers. So um, the actress who portrayed George in motion capture,
Mm-hmm.
she is also my choreographer. Her name's Sonia Reznikova. Um, and she is a ballroom dancer and ballroom teacher, and she also was in my jury program. So she
Okay.
was doing video games and dancing.
Mm-hmm.
And then my good friend Chloe Siegel, who portrayed Esther in the motion capture, she graduated with a dance degree from, oh my gosh, I'm blanking, University of North Carolina at Greensboro. And she's been a good friend since very early high school.
Hmm.
So I gave her a call up. I was like, I want to do this project. I need dancers. Would you be willing to fly out to Atlanta and do this with me? And she said,
Oh.
yes, absolutely.
Hmm.
So I'm very, very lucky to have people like this who are willing to work on my projects and are so talented in ways that I could never be.
I hear you. I do.
Uh-huh.
I totally get it. Now, there's some interesting effects that you use during the course of the
Mhm.
film that I was curious to ask about. First of all, the pictures. To those that eventually get to see the film, the pictures change and
Yes.
change quite rapidly and quite often, and they flash as well. So, how complicated was it to get those to match just so?
Um, it wasn't too bad actually. There was a little bit of trickery I did using both
Sure.
Unreal Engine and Premiere Pro. So what happened within Unreal Engine is I had the picture frame here, let's
Yeah.
say, and I have the first picture showing in the picture frame. And they're movable objects, and let's say they're basically planes, so they're only really two-dimensional with a very, very small like z-axis.
Okay.
Um, and so it's just like a flat piece of paper. So I have the picture here, and I have the picture that it changes into behind it. And then when I need it to switch, I just bring this one forward through the first picture.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So that's how I got the switch to work. It wasn't something that we needed to do in post, which made things much
Yeah.
easier. And the stuff that was done in post was the shine and the sparkle, just to really draw your eye to it. Because in early like test screenings that I did, people couldn't tell what was going on for the picture change. So it's like really like look over here, look
Yep.
at it. Yeah.
I get you. I do. Second thing is, I think it's so interesting the inferences that you make during the film
Hmm.
without giving anything away. For instance, in the writing, one of the ones that sticks to me all the time, it's raining all the time. So in writing, you have the inference, you have the characters that don't touch one another, which is again another wonderful inference. I do want to ask about though. The radio voice to me adds another element to the project itself. So, who is the
Hmm.
radio voice? How did you figure out how to set that up? Because that just sets the tone, I think, for the film.
Are you talking about the like announcers at the beginning?
Yes.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So both of those characters are voiced by my good friend Hunter McCoy. I went to high school with him. He's absolutely talented. He currently lives in LA and is a working voice actor.
Yes. Okay.
Um, and like I said, I'm very lucky to be able to have these people that I know and reach out to them and have them work on these projects.
Okay.
And he actually, I had the script very early on in the process for this film, and I just sent it out to him, and he sent me a few different voices that worked, and I could edit it together as I pleased. And it was so early on in the process that I ended up having to change one of the announcers' names, and
Yeah.
I sent it back out to him. And I'm like, "Can you do it again?" um, but he's wonderful, and having that, you know, the voices on the radio on
Hmm.
either side of the music really make it feel
Yeah.
more real, because if you listen
Yes.
to the radio, it's not just song, silence, song. People are talking about the music and as a segue into the next song and about the weather, all that
Hmm.
sort of stuff. So I really wanted to give it that sense of realism there.
You betcha. Now, on this project, you are writer and director and animator, but also
Mm.
singer, are you not?
I am, yes.
So tell us a bit about why you selected to put your vocals to this.
So the song was really the basis for the entire story there.
Yes.
And I had worked on um, the song in the film with my voice coach.
Mhm.
Um, and her name is Lisa Blair Hawkins. She's incredible. And I was really struck by this song, Stormy Weather.
Mhm.
And it has a very specific meaning in the song when you listen to like the original. But
Mhm.
I was like, this could also have, not to spoil anything, a very different meaning. And I wanted to create something around that.
Nicely done, I have to say. And again, trying not to give away too much because you actually have to see and feel and hear all of
Hmm.
this to fully understand. The one major question I guess most of us would ask is, you've created these characters literally on film. So did you see them in your head and create them, or are they based on real people?
It's sort of a mix. So I I was very influenced by the cultural aspects of the people that I had
Yeah.
on on my film with me. And the I was again very lucky to have so many people that were willing to work on this project so early on because I pitched it to most of them over a year and a half before we actually started shooting.
Okay.
Um, and all of them were like, yes, I'm in. The only person I didn't have was the voice actress for Esther, Michelle Viard. I got her this the few months before I started actually like putting this all together.
Mhm.
And so my voice actor for George, his name's Isaiah Richburg. He's also a wonderfully talented voice actor. Um, I I really wanted George to feel like he was representative of him. So they're both like tall, lanky black men. And then Esther specifically, I wanted to give her, and George for that matter, what felt like a Jewish heritage because Chloe and Sonia, my dancers, they're both half Jewish, and it's something that I wanted to like just wanted to bring that diversity into the film.
Okay. There are two main characters in this movie. Technically, I would say that there's more, but the two mains, which is the male and the female, would it be fair to ask the question, do you think that George is reliving love, or is love revisiting him?
So it's hard to talk about this without giving much away.
I know.
That's a very difficult question. I would say that he is the embodiment of love, and that love is revisiting Esther. Um,
That's well put. That's
yeah.
good. Actually, that's good. Just like that, as a matter of fact. So, if someone were to come up to me and ask me what in loving memory means to me or what I took away from this, I think it really is the representation of how love affects and has a lingering, everlasting effect on us, whether it be good, bad, or otherwise. It also is representative of how we find one another through the chambers of love, and of course, how we deal with how love changes over time. But I'm not the creator. So since you are, could you tell us in two sentences what your movie is about?
Well, I thought that was wonderful.
Oh,
Also,
thank
I
you.
thought that was really good, and it was one what I wanted people to get out of it.
Okay.
Um, I also wanted it to be, you know, it's about how love is present with you even if those people aren't, and how the goodness of love can help you work through the grief of losing it.
Ah, very well. Yes. Now, if I were to ask you where it's headed next, as far as now that we're done with
Mhm.
Atlanta, do you envision more festivals or people can actually go and see it publicly in the future?
Mhm. I plan to have it listed publicly just on YouTube for people to watch without a fee.
Okay.
Um, I, I imagine it's going to have a very limited run due to the fact that it was a student project and I used student software on it and therefore cannot make any actual money off of it, which I'm not worried about. I'm very happy to have it done and have people appreciating it.
Sure. Gotcha. And if we were to talk about future plans, what have you got in the mix next? Because I hear you're doing another project. So can you tell us
Yes.
anything about it?
Ooh, so it's very, very early pre-production. So there's not much to tell is the thing. Um, but this is a short film that I'm going to be working on, and this time it's going to be live action instead of 3D animated. Um, and I'm very excited to be working on something like that, just getting back into it.
Nice. So again, her name is Kathryn Bravo. If folks want to find you on social media or otherwise, where do they go?
Yeah, so I have an Instagram. It's Cat S Bravo. You can find me there. And then again, my website is www.katszy.com.
Thank you very much for that. Now, I usually like to make it a point during my interviews to remind filmmakers and actors of the significance of their projects. And I say that because rarely you probably get feedback from folks to let you know exactly what they think of your project. So the reason, and I told this to Kathryn before we got on here, I usually hand pick the films that I'm going to cover or interview because they interest me or they have an element to me that I find fascinating. So in her case, I picked her film out of 12 other films at the Atlanta Film Festival because of the significance of the story. Most people who follow me already know that I buried my beloved a little less than 4 years ago. And so one of the things that I talk about on a regular basis is how widows rarely are ever seen publicly. And by that, what I mean is we have all those feelings and emotions and experiences and reflections and memories. Um, and most of the time, people don't see our face. And what you did by making this film was to give a face to myself and so many others who live and play back your movie over and over in our head every day. So I wanted to tell you how thankful I am, and I'm sure I speak for many others who have loved or loved and lost, that it means so much that we get seen, and you've done that for us. So thank you so much.
That's very touching. Thank you.
Absolutely. Anytime. I appreciate your work.